Fire Radio.
Hey everybody, it's Rob, Frontline Mindset. I was going to stop this and go home, but Kyle has decided that he's going to take over and he's going to ask me questions, and I want to actually. This is good. So Kyle, go ahead, take it over. You're the new host.
Hey, sounds straight with Frontline Mindset, the National Fire Radio here with Rob Ridley in New York. Rob, thanks for joining us today. I'm just curious, while talking to you, while you wear your bugles on your collar so proudly, when you went from line officer to chief, how was that transition? How did that affect you and your workload?
So it affected the workload. First off, you have to tell the story of how we got here. So I went from being a lieutenant to a captain's position, which ended up being the MTO of the department, and it was Monday through Friday. Previously, because of how things were doled out, the previous MTO was actually doing the job of a deputy chief, and he wasn't able to focus on the MTO role. Somebody answer the phone? There we go. All right, so I ended up being on this daytime position, but I was still, I was the captain of the house. It was all, the responsibility of if something went wrong, I always took it as my fault. And I was still able to work overtime and work the line. I still jumped on the back step with the guys if there was a call, or jumped in my car and met them on scene and, went to work. But for your, making the shift from captain to deputy chief has been a struggle. And it's been a struggle in a good way, but, I forget that I'm the deputy chief. I forget, when the guys address me as chief or good morning, chief. And I, in my heart of hearts, I just want them to be like, hey, Rob, what's going on? But I know they can't.
Sure.
It's wild. And then, having to, not making the decisions, you make a decision, you can do the right thing, you can do the wrong thing, or the worst thing, you can do nothing, right? And sometimes doing nothing's okay, but, I've had to unlearn some bad behaviors because we always had to ask permission for things, and it wasn't, sometimes some administrations it was a fault, you had to, Mother May I stuff. Some of them, they just got so overwhelmed because they were like the Johnny Cash song, one piece at a time. But now I can just make a decision. I have left and right range limits where I can operate in, and these are the lanes, and I go forward, and sometimes I go to ask myself for permission. And I have that moment where I'm like, wait a second, I'm deputy chief. I'm in charge of operations. We're gonna put this hydrant bag on the truck. We're gonna do this with the engine. We're gonna do X, Y, Z. So it's been a struggle. And I'm like, okay, I'm the adult. As corny as that sounds, it's
understandable.
Yeah, it's been, and then the administrative side of it is, that's the real fun stuff. That's what everybody takes the firefighter test for. So learning about the budget, making sure you're filling out your the worksheets for cost, and making sure you're on the appropriate line of things is that's what everybody dreams about. The fires are great, but when I have to make sure I'm within those financial limits of 3 verbal quotes versus 3 written versus a competitive bid process. Man, let me tell you, you thought first do structure fire on the line or VES was good? My buddy Corley Moore needs to ask about a budget worksheet, because that is, no, I'm just kidding. But it's been but at the same time, nobody ever really showed us that, and now I get to see where the money is moving. I get to see how it comes in from donations in the tax base, and then how we distribute it. And I'm blowing down all these myths that used to be told to us that we couldn't do this. Now I am Oz. I'm hitting my microphone. I'm the guy behind the curtain, and I get to see how it worked, and to know with confidence that I can send my members to FDIC, that I can send them to Joey D. There's this cool thing that's going on in Rockland County that they're doing. It's fast and live fire conditions. We're sending members out. We had Seaside consultants here working up with us with the ladder trucks the last week on for 2 days. Built confidence in these guys to be a truck company, because we got the new ladder truck. These are the cool things of the job too. That's been awesome to get to take part of.
Sure. Was there any mentor or mentors that helped you transition from line officer to deputy chief?
I think that I've been blessed with a lot of mentors in my life. And I go back to Captain Mike Brower from the city of Poughkeepsie, who was my captain when I worked in the city of Poughkeepsie, and the captains ran the shifts. They're really deputy chiefs or battalion chiefs, but they he had a good work ethic to him. Eric Levin was another one who was a lieutenant, and he was taking care of the men. Jimmy Butler from Washington D.C. He was a sergeant and a lieutenant and a captain in Hyattsville, and like these people taught me leadership skills on how to treat people and how to not only treat them but how to toe the line, if you will, and where to hold the line really is actually probably the better way to put it. And like Mitch Cannery as well, he was another one who was just he a very smart guy. And then like certainly Jeremy Donch having an effect on me. And then other fire chiefs like Terry Ehlers, retired from the city of Newburgh. Like he was another one who I can bounce information off of and talk to. So and there's Aaron Heller. I mean, the list goes on. There's so many. Mo Davis. I can call Mo Davis up and just sometimes I just need to hear Mo Davis. Because it's that. But like they and the things that they did was like, don't worry about the small stuff because it's always small stuff. Like kind of keep your eye on the prize and on the big picture, and then and really take care of the members. Like that's huge.
That's it's always nice to have mentors that can kind of help guide and kind of help put things into perspective. I think when you get away from that 500 to 10,000 foot view, and you have to start looking at the 100,000 and 500,000 foot view, and realizing that I think part of it is sending officers or acting officers below you take a step away from that and understanding like they got this, and if they don't, they will adapt.
Well, that and also enabling the firefighters to have their piece of the pie and own it and defend it fiercely. So we got the new ladder truck came in this year, and
Beautiful truck.
Thank you. There is a I don't know if I can find it quickly or not, but I had the firefighters design where they were going to put the tools because they were going to be the ones using it. Like the officers had input and they had limited override power that had to come through me. Mm-hmm. But let me just see if I can find this here. Whoa.
While you're looking that up, and I'm gonna look. I looked at your truck at FDIC, and I was walking around it. I was trying to visualize, not knowing anything about your particular department and how you operate, just where things possibly could and could not go, and where they would set up. And talking to our mutual friend Jason, and he goes, "Yep, some of the shelves are gonna be adjusted, but this will probably go there. This might go there." But it was cool to see the pride from the couple of guys from your department I got to talk to about that truck and the pride they had and that new apparatus coming to your department.
Yeah, I said, so I sent an email to everybody that was on the committee, and I said, here are your orders for tomorrow. I'll see you guys up there. There's a reminder here of the duties of and functions of a ladder company. If it gets stuck on something, this is so loud. Good Lord. If you get stuck on something or an idea, reference that, but put yourself in the truck company mindset and work up from there. And I said, your objective tomorrow: the firefighters of the Fairview Fire District will transfer tools and equipment from the old ladder truck to the new ladder truck in Palinville, New York. This task is assigned to you as you are the primary users of the ladder truck. Your goal is to organize the tools in this ladder truck in the most efficient and convenient manner. There's a blank slate approach to this. You treat the new ladder truck as a blank state. The old ladder truck will not be taken to the shop, and you will be allowed the freedom to reimagine the layout. Increased compartment space with the new ladder truck has significantly more compartment space than the old one. Utilize it wisely. Recommended placements: saws and ventilation tools. Place these on the driver's side where the access ladder to the aerial device is located. This layout ensures logical flows and accessibility. Customization beyond the recommended placements, you have the liberty to customize the rest of the truck. Sketch out the proposal tool placements. Be prepared to explain your reasoning to the membership. I put something in there about the electric fans because we weren't sure if they were going to fit, and then I put out the roles to the ladder company. Quint capabilities, and I said, and this is important because the ladder company had to come first, and then we could ensure that the truck is equipped for fire attack if needed, plan for handline deployment and booster backup for the first due engine, and then future rescue needs. And my expectations for take the time to carefully plan and sketch out the layout, discuss and justify your actions, and ensure the new ladder truck is equipped in a way that enhances operational efficiency and readiness. And then I thanked him for taking the time, said that the senior man was going to be in charge, and then went over just that brief layout of search and rescue, ventilation, forceful entry, etc., so they could get all those functions, pretty much the lover's you thing, right? All in them. But I put it, I said that whole thing was to embrace it into them and say hey, this is what you're doing. As a chief of operations, you guys are the ones who are going to decide how you operate. Because if it doesn't work, not that it's going to fall on them, but I didn't want an officer. No offense to my officers, they're great. All my lieutenants are great, my captain's great, but I didn't want them having some kind of notion in their head because they don't ride that truck. They're not assigned to it. They're assigned on the engine. They ride the front seat of the engine. The two guys that are on that truck are, they are that backup position for us. They are going to make or break what happens on that fire ground. And I wanted them to have just enable them to take that and take the pride and ownership into it and make it theirs, and they did.
That's great to hear. I think I don't say a lot of departments, but I'll characterize it. I think a lot of departments, they take it as the top couple of chiefs are this is what you're going to do, this is how you're going to handle it, this is what you're going to have to make it work. Because 30 years ago when I rode the truck, or 20 years ago when I rode the truck, this is how we do it. Meanwhile, they're back in their cushy Tahoe inside, looking at a radio and a computer screen, while guys are running around the truck trying to grab stuff, stepping over each other because the layout doesn't make sense, because the layout that the chief was working off of is from 20 years ago, 2 trucks ago. Right. So, and I also think that's a change in the fire service that we're starting to see over the last few years is the lower ranked guys or non-ranked guys getting the responsibility to have some big say in where things are going to be laid out to make their job more successful. And that's easier because there's enough other things in the fire service. Why does the way that's laid out have to be one of the hardships?
Right. Yeah. And there was a time frame here where we were just making things miserable to make them miserable, because if the members were miserable, management was happy. At least that's what it seemed. And
sure.
I'm not going to fucking lead that way. I'll take this badge off and hand it back to them. I want plus the firefighters know how to do their job.
Mm-hmm.
They know. So I want them to, like I said, there's the adult in the room as the officers, right? And my line officers, like I said, they're all solid. But when it comes to stretching the line, forcing the door, setting the tools up for that, they know what they need to do to be successful. So that's and that's I think that's been sometimes the other challenge is making sure that I'm engaged, but I'm also 3 steps back, because I got to watch them and be proud, and then I have to if there's something going wrong, even then I maybe have to let them make the mistake, and then not counsel in a bad way, but just give them counsel afterwards and be all right, how did this go? What can we do to make this better? Because I don't ever want to just come out and be you're not doing it this way because of
Mm-hmm.
I'm an old white and that's how it's going to be.
Right. When you transition from the kitchen table in the bunk room to the corner office, but the office with the window, because you see the window behind you, as you just really got away from that, how was it? Because it feels like there's always that disconnect. There's always that separation where, you wear the shirt and the badge, but you're no longer truly one of the guys, one of the crews. How was that transition? Kind of realizing when you walked in the room, the conversation quieted down.
Yeah, the conversation. I mean, there's definitely things that, and I look at it as a sign of respect, because they know that I have to do things if I have to act on something. So if the conversation quiets down, that's okay because they need to have like that room is theirs, that conversation's theirs, and if it was meant for me, I would be involved in it. They would come get me or be like, hey, we're having a conversation about this. Can you come join us? And I think
Mm-hmm.
they all know that. As far as being engaged, though, like I try to make sure that I am on top of the chief duties and stuff, like just doing something with them, like being engaged in the calls, responding on boxes. Actually, one of the things that we're going to start doing is I'm going to essentially work an overnight. I don't want to say for free, but I'm adjusting the hours and working with the board on it, where I'm just here, Chief Rob, so to speak, but like have dinner with the men, like make sure that everybody's got their time and stuff, but like it's not punitive, it's not to fish for information, it's just to be here and be like, hey, like what are some things that you guys like, because I worked as a firefighter before my contract was settled, and I like could feel something in the room, and I said, guys, I'm here as a fireman tonight, like what's going on? Like I know I'm still the deputy chief, blah blah blah, whatever. But like
Mm-hmm.
tell me what the fuck is happening because I can feel this tension and I felt it all day. Like we're gonna have a fucking blast tonight because I'm driving the ladder truck and I'm driving the second due ambulance. This is gonna be fucking tits. Let's do this. And
Right.
we had this conversation about rumors and things that weren't happening because like they didn't understand the timing of stuff and how the red tape, and all I needed to do was sit down and talk to him. And we had this, my counterpart, my chief Justin, and I had this conversation about like, because it's that balance, like of when you say like, hey, like some of this stuff they should just accept because they're the firefighters, and I like there's sometimes where it's like, hey, that this is how it's going to be, and this is how it's going to be, 100%. But there's other things where like me taking the extra time to sit at the table with them and explain it and give them the understanding and the why.
Mm-hmm.
Man, like I watched a whole group go from tense to relaxed, like by the end of the night, by the end of dinner, just from having that conversation and being able to, you know, because who the hell knows how rumors start, but like it provided leadership when it was needed the most, and it wasn't in any book, you know.
Yeah. I think it reminds me a bit of when you talked about earlier about the fools, where yeah, if I'm working in your firehouse, yeah, you're Chief Ridley, but at the Fools, I'm Kyle, you're Rob. And
Right.
so, there was that conversation where I think at the dinner table where, I don't want to be over dramatic. You walk in, you pull the badge off, and you sit on the counter and go, yeah, my shirt's white, but I'm here as, like, that's the deal. Like, talk to me as Rob. Like, shut the door. It's us in this room. One of the lessons on leadership I took from one of the private ambulances I worked for, and my chief did this in the beginning, but at some point it went away. Is they'll send out either a weekly or a monthly update of this
Yep.
happening, and it's everything from we have a new ambulance coming in, and here's a timeline, or we're accepting bids on this, down to, hey, we are looking at this program, or we are looking into this, and here's the reasons why. Here's what we're expecting. And I think that squashes a lot of rumors because if someone says, oh, well, this is happening, you go back, there's something emailed 3 days ago saying this is the reasons why. And I think if there was more of a habit of, let's say, a monthly email update, which could even be nothing new is out there. Here's what we kind of got going on. Because
Mm-hmm.
I know officers, especially your line officers, are going to hear the little rumors, and they have a hard job being that middle management because part of it is keeping the guys in line and making sure they're not getting themselves hurt and they're doing their job, but they're also supposed to be running stuff up to their next management captain or deputy chief saying, hey, I'm getting a lot of this at the shift change table. I'm hearing this throughout the day about these rumors. I don't know what to say about it. Or, hey, this policy that you came up with, it really isn't working for us. Is there some leeway on it? Is there an explanation I can give? And I think if you say, hey, here's a monthly update or weekly update, this policy's coming out. Here's the nuts and bolts of the policy and the reasoning why. Sometimes it's because somebody did something and now you're seeing the possibility of it being a huge issue,
Mm-hmm.
or the potential of, I went to the seminar, here's a policy we don't have in place, and I feel like this is a good spot for it. And then members should be able to have the opportunity to email back either tweaks to the policy or explanations of the policy without it being I'm the chief, you're a black helmet, you're going to do what I tell you.
Right. Yeah, 100%. It's draconian to kind of rule that way, and like I said, and that's exactly actually that's the to rule that way. Like I don't need to rule. It's not a kingdom. I'm not a king. I'm not a
Right.
dictator. I'm I'm a deputy fire chief, and I want the best for my members, and I want more importantly, I want the best for the citizens who we're sworn to protect. You know. So yeah,
Exactly.
it's been a lot of fun. It's been very stressful, but it's also been like, and I told this to Jeremy one day. I said this is the busiest I've ever been in my life, and I don't want to say I'm not doing anything busier, but like my mind is engaged on a level that like the only way that I could actually think about it was I think Risa Reed or something like that. I really forget. I think it's Risa. Um, she's or Tessa Reed. I don't know. She's a comedian who does a whole bit about getting accidentally hooked on crystal meth, and
Okay.
she talks about this transcontinental experience, like when all the the green and the blue aliens and stuff like that. And that's how I would describe my brain working through this, especially with my ADHD. Is that like it's constantly turning. Like you're not at full meth capacity until you do this, and then like because you see the addict like why are they vacuuming the lawn, and you're like, oh my god, this makes sense now, right? But like to
Right.
take it back to the not using meth, and I'm not because I have on my teeth. All right,
Right.
the I come home from work and I'm still engaged. Like it's still going 100 miles an hour. Like I'm still on the in the fast lane, beeping at a Maryland driver who refuses to pull out of the left-hand lane. Um,
Right. Also, because
and
Maryland is your Flatlanders. That's right.
yeah, yeah. Shout out to Hyattsville. Um, but Company One, Benny Truck's back. Seafood is back in the house. But no, so like it's and then there's been some other things that I can't get into that have emotionally taken a lot out of me, and I'm
Sure.
thankful that I was in the position to affect the change that I did. Um, so yeah, it's wild. Like I've never been exhausted mentally like this before, like at a consistent basis.
Sure. It's interesting. When I was an acting officer, I didn't realize like there's little things I were like, okay, we got to document this, worry about that. But then there's things that end up happening, just the way your brain changed. Of man, I would love to engage and join in on whatever they're doing, but part of it is I have this and this to do. Or
Yep.
part of it too was, yeah, I'd love for us all to do that, but now I'm thinking of the ramifications of afterwards. Because if we do this, then I'm the one who's in trouble versus my officer that has to deal with it.
Right.
Because the officer is gosh, now it's me, so now I'm the one that has to be the fun police and stop in and say, "God, I'd love to join in on you with that, but we really can't do this because of whatever reasons going on." Or it's I don't have the authority for that. I don't actually have a bugle on my collar. Just today, I'm the guy in charge of documenting the monkeys in the station.
Right.
And I say that as one of the monkeys in the station. But it was interesting to see where that mindset changed. Of, hey, how come this happened? What was your thought process on this? Like, oh, well, here's what I was thinking. Here's what I knew. You know, but sometimes we weren't privy to all the emails that were going on in policy,
Right.
not necessarily
Yeah.
policy changes, but like, well, you're not an actual officer, you're an acting officer, and this email didn't really pertain to you until it did. And you find out about it a month later and you go, okay, I won't do that anymore. Sorry.
Yeah. One of the so the former chief Tim Gilnack, he was my lieutenant, he had me act up under his supervision. So he drove
Okay.
the engine, and I'd be in charge of the shift, and that was exactly where he would kind of because like if you did have to, I would have to act as an officer on occasion, and believe me, it was quite the act. But like no, in all seriousness, it gave you that insight, and where he had said, "All right, here's something that you don't know, but here's how
Uh-huh.
you're going to handle it. Like this is what you got to do." And yeah, it was invaluable to have him mentor me like that, and he was one of the mentors as well. Like even though he aggravated the shit out of me as my boss from time to time, like he taught me in valuable lessons right in there alone.
Yeah. I think one of the lessons that was fun to learn was when I was doing my promotional exam, and the senior fireman I'd have to counsel was my actual lieutenant, and then there's a couple of chiefs grading, and then our rookie is an outside chief from another department wearing his 5 bugles on his shirt, and he's like, I'm just a rookie. I'm like, sure, chief.
Yeah.
He's like, nope,
Okay.
nope, my name, I don't know his name. I'm gonna call him Rob because you're Rob. I'm like, okay, Rob.
Yeah.
And so it's just basically that my senior guy is mad because I got promoted over at him, and you have a brand new rookie. We went out for just an outside fire, right? Like someone's burning leaves, just a stupid call. Neighbors mad because there's smoke, whatever. And so my driver is super mad about it. All looked up, and the poor rookie's stuck where he's like heard us back and forth and the bad attitude in the in the truck. So now you have this issue, and so I send the rookie off to go. Like, what, just go finish up, go up to breakfast. We'll be up shortly. We're just going to talk. I don't want to be a part of anything. Nope, you're fine. And so we get in there, and it's like, dude, what's going on with you? You're trying to do that interpersonal thing, and he went over me with it. So he's sitting there, and he's all slouched down in his chair, shirt's untucked, which his shirt was always untucked. So I didn't even bother. Like, pick up the things that matter, and he puts his in, and I like, whatever. We don't have a nicotine policy. I don't care. Put his in. Put the whole tin in for all I care. Which he did to another guy. He just kept popping him in as he's talking to him. And so that just like watching him put like 12 of them in his mouth. And afterwards, probably through, yeah, take them all because he said the balls is so bad. We used to he was texting on his phone, and he was texting on his phone. What I don't realize is that the one of the two chiefs that are documenting and stuff is actually my battalion chief, my shift commander. They're texting each other, and when he's texting, because he's supposed to be just rude and obnoxious, he's just texting him. I'm like, we're having a conversation. Can you put your phone away for 5 minutes? Big sigh, put the phone away. I'm trying so hard not to laugh because obviously it's my lieutenant, but it was just this whole conversation of like, I need you to talk to me for a second. Like, what is up with you? Well, you're the chief's buddy. And I'm like, first off, we know that's not true. First off, you know this. And I need you to suck it up. You're mad about it? Fine, be mad at it. Mad about it? Be mad at me. Like, you yell at me right here, we're in closed doors. Say whatever you want. I don't have a bugle on. Say whatever you want. I don't have anything to say. Okay, then, knock off with the attitude. We have a rookie we need to deal with. I need you to do that. And then afterwards, a few days later, when it came out, like, here the guys are promoting. Kyle, you're an actor. I'm like, all right, cool. And he came back and he says, you did really good on these things that we worked on. He was like, I was really proud of that. And so it was one of those things I remembered of like having an ex guy that I now, last shift and the shift before we're buddies on the ambulance, but this current shift, I'm now your boss. Of being, I'm your boss for, 6 hours while the officer's gone and something happened. So do I need to write up every little thing, or can I pull you aside and say, hey, look, I get it, but we can't act this way. We can't have this happen, or pay attention to this. This is something that I noticed when you have no true authority to do so because you're not an actual officer.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's always tough. And when I was acting officer, I always ask guys, like, please, like, we're going to get through, like, it's kind of like, say, we're going to get through today. Like, I'm going to make mistakes, like, and just kind of have that humility with them because I felt like it got me, I don't want to say it got me further, but, like, we were all on the same page. And then, like, if somebody started doing something, like, I would always just say to them afterwards, like, hey, man, like, I'm not trying to jam anybody up here, but, like, you're ultimately, this is going to look bad for us. And that was the other thing, too. Like, for me, like, I always looked at it, like, I always told the guys, I don't want to look bad for our officer. Like,
right.
Like, because that's who we're directly representing, is our boss who's not here. And that always, like, immediately, like, they were like, oh, shit, you're right. Like, so I enjoyed this. Kyle, this was fun. Thank you. I'm going to have you on as a guest host more often now. This is going to be great. So, well,
hold on for a while. Let's go ahead and wrap this up really quick. If you just want to sit tight. Thank you for joining us with Frontline Mindset, National Fire Radio. This is your substitute host, Kyle Strait, interviewing our none other than our Deputy Chief Robert Ridley of National Fire Radio. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, Kyle. Awesome work.
National Fire Radio.